This call is now being recorded. Different types of disasters people are facing, and this is lakhs or crores of people, millions of people are suffering. Not only suffering, but others, not only human being, but other animals, and the numbers of casualties. And that's why it's very important to discuss this issue. And UNAccc being responsible, having mandate on the climate change issue, we have selected this topic for today's discussion with eminent speakers who have been vast experience in the field of this climate adaptation, hazard mitigation, or dependent. When you talk about the disaster, it is disaster mostly that in either earthquake, either flood, or any other forms. Mostly we used to call this is a man-made disasters because we are literally torturing our environment, and as a result, it looks like natural disaster, but indirectly these are all man-made disasters. So we have to take the responsibility. Even ACC is also taking the responsibility to discuss and come out with some amicable thought and amicable solution for this. Myself, Dr. Jayanti Chaudhary, faculty and heading the Department of Rural Studies in Tripura Central University in India. Welcome all of you once again in this discussion. We are happy that with us today's guests, different guests from different parts of the world. Right now we have Sri T. Krishna Prasad sir, additional former DGP, senior IPS officer, and also we are proud he is also board member of UNAccc. Sir, welcome once again. And I am proud that I work in National Institute of Rural Development, and I saw that in your biodata that you have also interest in rural development. So I am feeling that, okay, we are in the homely. Thank you, sir. We have with us also our chief guest, Mr. Manish S. Sharma, additional DGP, MP Police. Most probably he will join very shortly. We are happy. The lady Terry Nicholas who is us. Terry Nicholas, are you with us? No. And definitely our own member, Rian, Hakon Rian is with us. Always with us. He is the very fond of Indian Bollywood also. And that's why always we treat him. He's our brother like. And obviously we have engineer T.S. Kartik Babu. Kartik Babu is today's architecture of this conference. His thought, ideas, speakers, everything. And we are happy Ms. Arfin Haidar is there. And very shortly, our other speakers will join, like Mr. Arijit Bhattacharya, Mr. Manoj Bajpai, and nothing to say that the host of the program, the father of this UNAccc, Dr. S. Sharma is here. But above all, today we have 3 student panel. This is important. When we are talking about the sustainable development, we have to think for the future generation. And that future generation, I'm happy that today is something different. UNAccc used to conduct numbers of program, but today's program, these 3 young speaker, I mean rather child speaker, they are coming to join. Thanks to Kartik Babu for taking this initiative. So before we go all these speaker one after another, we know that our honorable Krishna Prasad sir having some assignment and he had to leave this shortly. So sir, let us start with you only. So we are requesting our honorable special invited guest today, Sri T. Krishna Prasad sir. He was a former DGP and a senior IPS. If you nothing to introduce, if you just search this name to the Google, as I did, it's a huge biodata and huge experience. Sir, without wasting your time, because you have to leave, over to you for your valuable piece.
Thank you, dear. Thank you. And I thank profusely.
Welcome, sir.
Rajat Sharma ji, and let me assure you, all the participants in this particular event are more knowledgeable on this subject than me. Uh, so let me give a very quick introduction about my experience in disasters and child trafficking and also DXing. I am not a hammer, but I'm a DXer. I was a DXer when I was in school. DX is primitive form of HM. Normally, the DXers become the HMs, the hammers. So I distinctly recollect when I was in school, we used to do, we used to listen to the remote radio stations using our very small, primitive transistors and radios. Log on to the radio stations. I'm talking about mid 1970s, and log on or listen to the radio stations far off. Radio Deutschland was the most difficult and also pricey one, because if you give a good get a good score on the strength, etc., and all that, Radio Deutschland used to give a lot of gifts to us by mail. So the entire community used to come and open the cover and see what is inside. So that is a experience that we had in the childhood, basically telling that Radio Australia, Radio Deutschland, and BBC, of course, was audible everywhere. And so we participated in that part. Now, second thing is, before I go to the conflict areas, the war situations, and also the disaster areas. So let me quickly talk about what I'm doing as after I retired as a cop, the chief cop of the southern state in India, and I have a foundation of my which I started, which is called KP Foundation. KP Foundation adopts the most backward villages in India and works on four areas. One is girl child education, skilling, livelihood, health, and the disaster management. With respect to the disaster management, we are the partners of Seva International. We have entered into an MOU with Seva International. We work together as far as disaster management is concerned. And as far as girl child education and child trafficking or women trafficking is concerned, I am the author of a book on human trafficking, which was recognized, and we had and Mr. Bill Gates wanted a meeting over the book, and we met on in 2006 to talk about girl child trafficking and women trafficking. So that happened in 2006. So it has a perspective in the sense. So in my book, what I wrote is, why are we waiting for a girl child to be trafficked and then later on try to rescue, which appears to be a wrong approach for me. So I wrote in my book that a girl should be prevented from being trafficked. Why are you waiting for her to be trafficked? So do all those things from preventing her from being trafficked. So that led to, in Indian conditions, we talked about how many children are outside the schooling system, because I wrote in my book that a child outside a schooling system is vulnerable to trafficking. When we took a check in 2006, about 1 billion, 10 crore, I think the 10 crore converts into 1 billion children were outside the schooling system. Then I said there has to be fundamental, compulsory, free and compulsory education of children. Then the country, after our lobbying, has passed an act called Right to Education Act. So in India right now, education is a fundamental right. It is now mentioned as a fundamental right in the Constitution of India. So now, how is it relevant to us? It is pretty much relevant to us because when it comes to disaster, we talk about how to rescue, what to do, how to give the relief, rehabilitation, etc. Yes, ham radio players play a humongous role in that. Now, when it comes to the war situation, or what do they call it, whether it is a low intensity conflict, like what happens in places like Jammu and Kashmir, etc., all over the world, there are several pockets where low intensity conflict is taking place. Even if what is happening in Afghanistan or Iraq now, if you take all these locations, what is not told to us, to the external world, is what is the trauma that the women and the girls are going through? Who nobody is communicating to us. And how do you rescue them? How do you rehabilitate them? How do you give them the relief? So the communication, the information, messaging is not taking place in spite of the best efforts of very good, well-meaning Western uh, media reporters. And a lot of Western media reporters have lost their lives when they were reporting the facts on the field. So not only in the disaster management, but also to rescue the victims of low intensity conflict, whether it is Vietnam or Afghanistan or Iraq, it has a very huge role. Therefore, it is very, very important for us to promote large number of ham radio operators all over the world, and particularly in the areas where there is disturbance, whether it is a tsunami disturbance or a cyclone disturbance, disaster in the snow-fed areas, or in the low intensity conflict or the warring areas. So we need to get that information, and for that information to come and for our rescue to reach them, there has to be communication. And that last mile communication can only be provided by ham radio operators. So I lay my argument here saying that what we are having as ham radio operators is not enough. We have to do 10x. We have to multiply by 10x, or maybe somebody will say even 10x is not enough. We have to do 100x. I'm totally with that. And when Mr. Sharma ji has discussed how do we collaborate, how do we do it, I said I'm in the southern peninsula of India, the South India, which has got a huge long coastal line. I'm sitting here in Hyderabad in the middle of that peninsula V-shaped India. So the east side or the west side, the coastal area is highly vulnerable to so many cyclones. And Latur anyway is vulnerable to earthquakes. The biggest earthquakes of this country happened in Maharashtra, very close to Hyderabad. So me and my team, KP Foundation, are available to all of the team here. We will do whatever it requires to do. And we are all one team. We should work as one team. And thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. I will be listening to some of the conversations, and
Thank you.
probably will not see me on the face.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Our chief guest is joining, Mr. Manish Shankar Sharma ji. I request all the people kindly welcome him. He just joining.
Welcome. Yeah. Okay.
Welcome.
Manish sir, are you there? Okay.
Manish sir, welcome, sir.
Yet to
Yeah. Oh, he has left the meeting. Maybe the connectivity issue.
Yeah. So now let us. Kishan Prasad
Yeah,
sir,
good evening. Good evening. I can
giving-
hear you now, and I think that issue
Manish
is
sir.
better. Good evening to everyone.
Thank you. So Kishan Prasad sir, thank you very much
Yeah,
for
he's joining.
giving your speech.
He's joining.
Yeah, giving your speech on that. And even we in the northeastern states, we are also facing the trafficking, particularly women and children. I have a book on trafficking women and children in a Tripura perspective, in the name of marriage and other, because Bangladesh is very closer, and Nepal, Bhutan, and these are the racket zone of the trafficking and this. And here the communications system is very, very important, as you mentioned. And even the northeastern states is earthquake seismic zone 4. So these are very much relevant to you. So your thought is not only for the, I mean, Telangana or Orissa, but throughout globally, it is very, very important. That's why it is a global conference. And thank you, sir, for joining with us. And now we are happy. We are happy and glad to welcome our chief guest for today's program, Mr. Manish Sharma, Senior IPS Officer, Additional DGP, Maharashtra MP Police. Welcome, sir.
Thank you.
Brother, we are waiting
Welcome,
for you.
welcome.
And we have gone through, I have gone through your profile. It's a huge, but very nutshell. I mean, let me introduce our chief guest for today's program. And here's a, not only, even I was going through the profile, not only as a senior IPS officer in different category, work in more than 22 countries with versatile specialization, and even counter-terrorism is one of the favorite subjects. But also I found that the book you have written is because being academician, we always search for those things. And I found that your book on the global terrorism challenges and policy options, and a lot of world leaders has also contributed on that. So you're passionate, not only this is very important, sir, that not only practice, but how we can make the knowledge gathering and knowledge sharing. And this book is really part-breaking, and a lot of things are there. So our all the participants, if you are interested, nothing to say about our chief guest today, Mr. Manish Sharma ji, and you can just Google to his name, and you can get all those things. And he have his own personal website also, and you can see that he is very frequently, he has received numbers of awards, even from the United Nations Peacekeeping Awards also, and numbers of different countries, not only from India, as various civil society organizations, government, various government, even the international government also from USA and other. And his academic career also you can see. I mean, from various universities, he has gone through various subjects, like from the University of California, from the International Security and Counterterrorism. I mean, it's a immense. And sir, we are happy to get you. We know you are busy, but today we all are waiting to listen from you. So I'm just wasting your time. Please go ahead with your speech.
Thank you. And again, a good evening, and my apologies for being a little late in joining and having missed out some of the important introductory and other remarks from the distinguished guests present here. When Dr. Rajat had approached me, I have known him since the last few months and seen his work. It was difficult to say no because of two reasons. One is, of course, his extensive background and the work he has been doing in bringing the civil society together, and also because of the topic that you've chosen for today. Climate change, of course, and then related to climate change, the climate adaptation, and of course, hazard mitigation, which is something I was also fortunate to have handled as chief of the State Disaster Response Force. So it's a pleasure being here. Thank you, UNAccc and the Research Foundation. Thank you, Dr. Rajat.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
So let me begin by saying that hazards are of several kinds. And when we speak about them, usually the first one comes to mind in terms of the climate change taking place, largely due to the global warming. Now, this is an issue that has been discussed on multiple forums at multiple times, and most of you would be aware of what is being done and the challenges that are there. The conference on climate, the COP, which takes place very frequently, that deliberates on the issues. What I have seen broadly is, and I've been fortunate, God has been kind to have served across the world. Generally, there are two distinct trends as far as climate change or climate adaptation is concerned. And within these two trends, the two streams of thought, one, of course, is the one that you are aware, that the rapid climate change, global warming leading to rise in sea levels, leading to lots of migration and other related issues, and what is being done thereof. But many of you may not be aware that there is a second trend. There is an alternative stream of thought, not as strong and certainly not as big a following as the earlier one. But this trend, and especially so in the US, which is, the US itself as a nation, because of its large size and the role it plays in international affairs, drives a lot of action towards climate change. But this stream of thought says actually that the threat of climate change is exaggerated. And this stream of thought is also very strong, in US universities, in their think tanks and other places. So what is happening is, even though the world is moving in the right direction, whether it is Europe, the US, or even in India, we have the International Solar Energy Alliance, other special initiatives by the government and civil society that are contributing towards mitigation of hazards. But I just wanted to, bring to your attention that there is this second stream of thought. Having said that, the mainstream is, of course, building up on the threats and trying to mitigate. When we speak about disasters or hazards, there are several kinds. So starting with climate, and the climate, of course, leads to, apart from the sea levels rise that you keep hearing, on a year-to-year basis, whether it is Northeast India, we are hearing from persons from the Northeast, or many other states in India, flooding.
Mr. Niladri, please stop.
Flooding is a huge problem, and this flooding is an annual recurrence. There is now a new phenomenon. It is actually not a very new phenomenon, but this phenomenon has been recognized as a new phenomenon in the last few years. And this is, which you must be seeing in many of your cities, our cities, urban flooding, which is actually a separate issue in terms of disasters, in terms of hazards, than flooding. So there are colonies, development of which has been haphazard, where every time it rains heavily, and you have all colonies blocked. In fact, many of you would have seen this year's pictures of India's cyber hub, IT hub, Bangalore, and where people had to high-end, colonies were flooded, urban flooding, and the CEOs living there and the other people living there had to go on tractors, take small boats, and other kinds of things. So flooding and urban flooding is a direct relation to this. Also, we have the heat waves, which take a number of lives every year in our country, other places. The cold waves, similarly, we lose a lot of lives, precious lives in India. And you would have read day before, yesterday, and even today, parts of the United States are under a severe cold wave. 55 people have lost their lives. And these incidents, these hazards, these disasters are increasing by the day. And this is certainly because of the climate change that is going on, the global warming that is going on, the change in the weather patterns across the world because of the previous mentioned factors. Also, just to quickly run through the hazards, fire is again something that we need to build on our fire protection measures. It's a hazard that takes place whether in the urban environments or forest fires, where we lose a lot of land and other important resources. Also, a very important aspect, before I move on to something else, is the NBR, what is known as the nuclear, biological, and the radiation, the chemical hazards. Nuclear, the radiation, we are aware. Biological, we were not aware as so much before the pandemic. But this is again something, it's a hazard, whether man-made or accidentals. These the world needs to cope up with. The world has coped up to a great extent, but again, these are challenges that each one of us present here need to look at closely and devise ways and means to handle and efficiently deal with them. I would also take this opportunity to give you an idea of how the hazard mitigation structure functions in India, because many of you may not be aware, only some of you might be aware of this. And we have seen it during the pandemic, how effectively it has functioned, but it is there for all kinds of disasters, all kinds of hazards. And basically there is a two-tier structure. As you are aware, we are a federal country. So there is this central unitary system, the government of India, and the states who are own, legal entities within themselves, who implement a lot of the actions on the ground. Not the government of India, it is the state governments that are implementing this. So at the apex level, there is what is known as the NDMA, which is the National Disaster Management Authority. And it's an authority headquartered in Delhi. It has 4 or 5 members who look after different aspects of national disasters taking place in the country. There is also an agency known as the NDRF, which is the National Disaster Response Force. It has about 15 to 20 battalions currently. And this is the force that you may be seeing on television every now and then, in orange clothes with NDRF written back, whether it is floods or any other kind of hazards, where they are actually equipped and trained to deal and effectively provide rescue and other missions. Similarly, at the state level, there is what is known as the SDMA, which is the State Disaster Management Authority. And within the SDMA, each district in India, and most states have implemented it properly, each district in India is supposed to have a DDMA, which is the District Disaster Management Authority, that is headed by the collector. The SP is there, the Home Guard commandant is there, the chief medical officer is there. So a number of officers comprise of this authority at the district level, and this actually is responsible for immediate decisions at the district level and action. Then most of the states have also to implement the decisions of the SDMA and the state governments and the government of India, constituted what are known as the State Disaster Response Forces. And these state disaster response forces have usually come in from the police, largely, made up of members of the police on deputation to these forces, and also, in some cases, the civil defense and home guards. So this combined force then is specifically trained for in terms of responding to disasters, trained at the national, state, and district levels, and also provided equipment, the latest equipment. There is a large amount of funding that is coming from the government for equipping the forces dealing with disaster. And the training is also the latest training that you would see. India is also cooperating extensively with countries in the region, so whether in the BIMSTEC or other forums, to learn about and to disseminate information with respect to what we are doing here. So that's a kind of a structure that we have in the country. One more aspect that I have seen, and I would like to bring it to the attention of this forum today, is the involvement of the community. People's participation in managing climate change or adapting to the climate or in mitigating disasters. That is crucial. See, the governments can only be a limited aspect everywhere. They cannot do everything. Without the cooperation of the people, without the cooperation of the civil society, without the cooperation of agencies, organizations like the UNAccc, the Research Foundation, the others that many of you are representing here, that's a key element in the challenge, in the fight against the disaster prepared in the disasters in the offing. And what I have seen is that in Madhya Pradesh, I have seen it very closely in my state because I added that force, that we were able to create a strong network, in fact, a GPS based network of volunteers in each district. And this GPS based network would, would have the ability to respond to the challenges that arose, and of course also to any kind of requirement that we sent out to the districts and the volunteers there. In times of flood, which was the major occurrence of disaster during those 2-3 years that I handled the force, we could gather volunteers at the sign, at the first news of, let's say, a bridge breaking down or a bus going somewhere in the rivulet. And the first responders were these civil society organizations and the partners in terms of the voluntary persons involved, who would come in at the spot even before the local police and local administration could reach there. So that's a key important aspect. And that is related to what, the concept of awareness. And that is where, again, you play a key role, where to bring awareness in the society with respect to the responsibilities and duties of each and every citizen is important. And let me also give you an example of what I have seen. Somebody was mentioning about the migrations. So I've had this occasion to meet a number of people from Bangladesh, officers and their citizens also. And just to give you an example, that they're convinced that whenever this problem arises in Bangladesh, India may build whatever kind of fences, whatever kind of blocks, we will still cross over. We don't have anything anywhere else to go. So there are, in addition to the disaster management aspects, the hazard management aspects, there is also a national security aspect related to climate change, which many of us are not aware. In conclusion, I would just like to say 2 words, maybe 4 words, one sentence, of what is necessary to make us ready. And that is, be smart and be prepared. No one knows when disasters may occur, what are the challenges that we may face at that point in time. So it is best to be ready and best to be prepared. Before I end, my compliments once again to all the participants here, to the organizations who have organized this important, crucial conference, and to all the distinguished members who are present here and would be speaking. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Bhaita. Wonderful.
Thank you, sir. I mean, that your appeal to that, it is not only the government duty, but we have to take the responsibility as a community. Even the time when United Nations with other agencies, they were trying to make the concept of community-based disaster management, which is a very, very important. And we are involved in participatory mapping and community mapping, how that can be very easily. So before, after, during and after, what would be their need? Even how the children can be mostly aware about those things, their things, because first hand the family should have to take the responsibility, then the community, then the state agencies, they should come. But several things you have touched, the most crucial that you have mentioned, the migration and the national security aspect, which is very, very important. Even when I'm working in Tripura University, you have seen that a lot of people from Bangladesh, they have no option. They are telling what you mentioned. They have no option to do it. Recently, even the Myanmar, that when there is some problem in their domestic problem, a lot of people from Myanmar, they came to take shelter in the Mizoram, Nagaland, and the Manipur. When their local politicians also, they came and they took the shelter. And this is a matter of concern. And we know the issue of Rohingya, what it happened to that. And this is when we talk about the disaster, so disaster is either natural disaster, man-made disaster, but we as a people, we have to concern about the our own country security, which is very, very important. That this area you have highlighted and you have mentioned, and definitely a lot of these kinds of workshop, the global conference, what we are going And this workshop will help basically, I mean, the speaker like you, when you make, then we definitely will be more prepared, more concerned, more aware about that. With this, thank you, sir, for your valuable time and valuable. Actually, all of us was waiting for your uh, speech, and we are highly, yeah, I mean, we got what we were looking for. Thank you, sir, for joining us. Uh, so,
Thank you.
I will be happy if you stay with us. Otherwise, if you are busy, but our next speaker, let me allow me to go to our next speaker. And as is a that area and the disaster management and mitigation adoption, but the ham radio is that. So before I go to the other speaker, I would like to go to our engineer T.S. Kartik Babu, because he made the thing that the conceptual aspect as a keynote address, and then we'll go for later. In between, some hands are already raised, but we'll be happy because the time is limited. You can make some question if you have in the chat box. That will be easier for us to get you, and then we will. So, make call Mr. Engineer Kartik Babu. Are you there?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, so
So,
floor is with you. We would like to
yeah.
share your thought that of theme of this program, how and let us, as in the flyer it is there that he is the group owner and head of DCTIH KB India and social worker, and also the disaster management professional, and particularly the ham radio license operator since 1998, which is the theme of today, the ham radio, how it can be more useful in during the communication, I mean, for communication of this during different types of disaster. So over to Kartik Babu.
Yes, sir. Sir, first of all, I would want to express my gratitude to Rajit Sharma, sir, the global chairman of UNAccc, for giving us this opportunity for his ongoing support of everyone present today, sir. Then I will welcome the chief guest, Mr. Manish S. Sharma, sir, IPS, additional DGP, Madhya Pradesh Police, sir. Sir, we will found your speech to be very helpful because you are offered your knowledge in the area of disaster management, sir. And special guest Sri T. Krishna Prasad, sir, just now spoken. So former DGP, senior IPS, sir. So very interesting, sir. And some of the guests, maybe we will wait. The Dr. Priya Namtra Topono. So he is the HOD, Professor of Industrial Safety Security Department. So some of the new for this program, some of the, because today only he have joined. So for this program topic today, there are many new participants, sir, from school side, from the college side. This webinar maybe, sir, should help become more knowledgeable to boom up yourself and disaster management practices. So definitely, actually, when I have interacted with many school and colleges and universities, so they are waiting to conduct classes for ham radio or some disaster management professional. So coming to actually the children part, maybe children's they will present. So whatever my thoughts and what is needed for the supporting of this topic. So children, Swatika Sri and Sai Saran and college student, Mr. All, they will cover the rest of the part, sir. So thanks for the opportunity, sir. So I will definitely will continue to speak. Thank you, sir.
Our national chairman, IAS Kamal Tawri ji joined. I would like to welcome him. Welcome, Kamal Tawri ji.
Kamalji, welcome. So
Kartik,
after
just talk about the topic more.
Pardon, sir?
Topic. Other speakers will tell. Anyway.
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay.
Actually, yes.
Okay. So may I now get to our international speaker, guest of honor of today's program, Hakontian.
Yes. Hello.
Welcome.
Now it
Namaste.
is your
Welcome.
time.
Namaste.
Please.
Namaste. A number of interesting and important topics have been raised by the previous speakers. Talking about trafficking. I worked in social work for 20-something years, and I met a number of victims of trafficking and other abuse of especially girls. And I think it is so important that we see that to raise women, to raise the female sacred energy in this world, it's so necessary. And another topic that was raised was about climate denial. People who say that, oh, it's all natural, that there are seasons in climate, yada, yada. And I've discussed with quite a few of those. And what it all comes down to me, it doesn't really matter. We see that there are changes happening in the world. We see that there are floods and tsunamis, and there are things happening. And the actions we need to do in order to help from Mother Earth, they work anyway. It doesn't matter if there are sunspots that create changes or whatever. It doesn't really matter. We need to stop polluting our Earth. We need to give her the respect that she deserves. That is necessary. Because we're talking about ham radio. Ham radio to me, in my area of the world, is a backup. It's a backup to other communication systems. I understand it's very important to, for instance, India. It also was when I was in the military or in the Navy. But it's a backup. But we don't have a backup Earth. We have one planet, and we really need to start taking care of her. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for giving your thought. And Kartik Babu, Dr. Priya, Namrata Tapno, ma'am, are you there?
Yes, sir.
You just check it, sir. Check it.
Okay. And
Otherwise-
students are also there?
There. Swatika Tri and Sai Saram. Yes.
Okay. Swatika Sri. Swatika, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes,
please.
yes.
Okay.
Hello,
Okay.
everyone. I'm Swatika Shri, school student, is here to share my thought with you all through my speech on
So this
disaster
is the
management.
yeah,
I'm
Swatika,
extremely
welcome.
yes.
Welcome. We are all welcoming you, and this is important that we are. We are arranging numbers of conferences, but this time we are getting a very serious and important issue. But how our future generation is taking these issues, how they are thinking, how they are trying to contribute. We'll be very happy to listen from all of you. So first, your term. So Satika, please share your thought.
First of all, I would like to express my thankingness to UNAccc and Disaster Communication Training Institute of Amateur Radio for giving me this wonderful opportunity to express my thoughts on disaster management ham radio. Before starting my speech, I would like to start it with an informative slogan. We cannot stop natural disaster, but we can arm ourselves with knowledge. So many lives wouldn't have to be lost if there was enough disaster preparation. Now let's start my speech with a definition of the disaster. A disaster is a calamity of sudden happening. A disaster causes injury and death to a large number of people during a short span of time. Disasters have caused by reasons such as earthquake, rainfall, hurricane, chemical accident, drought, or even armed conflict. There is a huge change in climatic condition on Earth. Summer days are increasing and winters are decreasing. All these changes are leading to excessive natural disaster. As we all know, the temperature on Earth is not stable. Like the temperature that used to be before 10 years, 5 years is not there nowadays. This is definitely due to the pollution and global warming, which is increasing today. And the solution for this is definitely disaster management. Disaster management is the primary and secondary plan of people to decrease the risk that is caused by disaster. Definitely, disaster management does not decrease the effect that is caused due to the uh, disaster completely, but somehow it decreases the impact, like it somehow decreases the direct or indirect effect of disaster are always destruction, damage, and death. It not only causes the death of human life, but also of animals. Somehow we humans do a lot of thing, and we just have all the resources of earth, but the animals who have not done nothing, they are also dead due to this thing we are doing. Importance of disaster management. Disaster management is very important in recent time. It is tackling the hazard that occur before or during or after disaster. Disaster management is a similar act as consuming medicine for curing a disease. Disaster can be in any form: epidemic, disease, or industrial failure, such as Bhopal gas tragedy. Like it is a man-made disaster. We all know Hiroshima Nagasaki atomic bomb attack. It caused death of millions of people. Like it was a man-made disaster. It was due to wars, and wars need to be stopped by this. In the event of disaster, proper preparation and are essential for managing the situation. Proper mechanism help to minimize the effect. Predicting the probability of some type of disaster can help in decreasing the vulnerability of people. What is the role of youth in crisis management? Youth can play an important role in the disaster preparation and recovery. Involving youth in disaster planning, we all know youth play an important role, and I'm also representing that part only in this speech. Like youth are next generation. If any problem is happening, like fire accident in your neighborhood, you may just take the initiative and call the fireman or whatever. Like youth, we, I think in our generation know more, and we are like quite knowledgeable on these parts, and we can just take the initiative and just help if there is any crisis in our neighborhood, and we can educate our elder people, like our grandparents, and tell them what is disaster management and how to deal with disaster if any disaster is affecting, and how to respond to it. Like definitely don't know how to respond, and especially elder people, they don't know how to respond, and we can educate them. What is the role of student in the society? Students play an important role in improving and strengthening the society. They are the future generation of the country. Studying is the main occupation of student, but being youthful and energetic, they can engage themselves in various forms of social work in their spare time and moments of crisis. Like students, we get our summer holidays, and we can learn something regarding disaster management. We can do courses for disaster management. We get online easily. You can get disaster management courses and stuff like that. Disaster management in India. National Disaster Management Authority (NDMA) is the leading government organization. NDMA formulates the policies and guidelines for disaster management to ensure timely and effective response towards disasters. The government of India also keeps a separate fund known as Constituency Fund of India to manage disaster that affect India. How is ham radio helpful during a disaster? Amateur radio, ham radio, in the times of crisis and natural disaster is often used as means of emergency communication when wireless cell phones and other traditional terrestrial means of communication fail. Our ham radio comes in use at that time. Ham radio uses radio waves and communicates through it. it is often experienced during any major disaster. Ham radio works when any other radio network does not work, and which is a benefit of ham radio. Now, talking about the benefit of ham radio license allow you to communicate over long distances without internet or cell towers. Amateur radio is one of the best and lifelong hobbies that you can have. You can use amateur radio license to volunteer and assist during an emergency. And at last, it is a learning new skill that you can add to your hobby. In efforts to popularize amateur radio in the country and develop a trend force of licensed amateur, Department of Information Technology has initiated a national wide program to establish amateur radio stations at various places at our country only. By this, I would like to conclude my speech by saying that disaster management is a collective and coordinated effort. Everyone must take an active part in disaster management, and disaster can't be taken, or it can go by only a person's initiative. It is a collective, and everybody should have knowledge about disaster management. And it is necessary that to save human life, knowledge is necessary about disaster management. And by this, I would like to conclude my speech. And thank you once again for this opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Satika. I mean, very informative, not only informative, all the things you also reminded us that how the young generation, they can play the role and how it is important. So, thank you very much. And we are happy that already you all are advocating for the ham radio, and which is very, very important tool for the communication. So thank you. I can feel that you are excited. So good, ready, and it's a great speech indeed. Now, may I get Mr. Teddy? Are you there, Teddy Nicholas?
Yes, I am. Good day.
Okay, okay, welcome, welcome. So we would like to, because
Welcome.
USA, everybody is everybody is suffering because of that cold wave, and I don't know how you are also affected. But it's a very timely, conference, that when we are talking about the disaster management, different types of disaster, and USA is suffering. So we would like to get your experience, but also overall your thought on the disasters, different types of disaster, how you are thinking to mitigate, and the issues related to. So over to our His Excellency Ambassador Terry Artway. So welcome for your.
Thank you, and good day to my colleagues in climate issues. And I speak to you from a cold USA right now. It's much colder where I live than normal, and yet a lot warmer than a lot of the parts of our country. For those of you who have been up in the mountains when it's snowing and it's windy, it's said to snow sideways rather than down. And that's what's been happening to most of the United States, that has been incorporated into this brutal winter storm. And even those locations that are prepared for this type of thing are never prepared fully. We have a tendency to relax as emergency people. And that doesn't make us bad people, it just makes us human. And when we get volunteers, especially what we like to say, new blood, new people coming into the emergency awareness avenues, they bring new ideas. Sometimes they're a little far out there, not so much, but sometimes they're pointed. And some of the things that happened in North America in the last few days were the result of new people, new eyes, and new thinking. And I'm sure it has saved lives. And the majority of you are witness to very severe flooding and severe cyclones in India and Southwest Asia regularly. And to have someone come along with a new idea is refreshing, because sometimes if we live in the disaster area, we cannot rise above it and see the big picture. Whereas a new person coming into the issue can ask new questions from a new perspective with new eyes. I recently submitted a proposal to the G20 with disaster relief from a different angle, and I'll explain a little bit of it now. For instance, there is technology out there that can capture water from desert air. So in the event of heavy rain where the water is very polluted and people don't have the ability to boil and make the water pure, these types of spinning devices can be life-saving. And they can be attached to the Christian religion, Noah and Noah's Ark, where he put all of the animals on the same big boat and waited for the floods to float the boat. Well, there's a similar thing that can be happening in the plains of India, where large vessels that can hold 100, 200 people in them, in these emergencies, all the local people can come to these boats that are tethered very heavily to the ground. And as the water rises, so does the boats. So there's people inside of the boats are safe. They don't get involved in the flooding, and they can take care of each other. And these little water units can give them plenty of fresh water. And there are many foods that are dehydrated out there that are high protein, healthy foods, and they are dry packed. They are waterproof. And those can be broken out of supply areas when the rains or the cyclone is on its way there and put on the boat, so that people, when they get on the boat, they have a cover to keep themselves out of the rain somewhat. They have fresh water all the time, and they can use the dehydrated foods to sustain themselves until help can arrive. So that was a recent proposal that I gave. Again, someone who has a different set of eyes or thinks of a problem from a different perspective can do great things. And I thank you all for allowing me to address you here. This ham radios, I can't speak enough about the ham radio system. It's amazing. And there's new technology that's getting better and better. Use of satellite phones in very inclement weather is getting better, so that the signals to and from the satellites don't need as strong a connection to work digitally for voice only. So it's getting better all the time. For those of us in the weather at the moment, it's never fast enough, but it's coming. Technology, and so far in this century alone, has been amazing. And being an old man, born in the mid of century last century, it's been an amazing journey to watch it. I thank you all today, and I pass to you, namaste, for this opportunity to address such wonderful people on such a high priority subject. Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Teddy. And you know, whatever the cold wave are there, whatever the cold is, you will always get a warm welcome from India and warm welcome from the UNAccc. So nothing to worry. We are always with you with our warm hospitality. Thank you very much. And thank you so much. And now, may I go to our another rather child speaker, Sai Saran, TK. Sai, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. Welcome. Welcome. So, Sai is with us. Mr. Terry, you can see that we are also preparing our future generation, and they are well equipped to be a good speaker. And Sai, over to you. Feel free and share your thought.
Good evening, all. I'm Saisran. He's here to recite a poem on disaster management. The title of my poem is "The Safeguard the Environment for Disaster Risk Reduction." Before I start my poem, I would like to thank UNACC and Disaster Communication Training Institute of Amateur Radio Operators. Let's start the poem. Humans greed is more than needs, and so have changes deeds. The blender he is creating is helping the environment in degrading. It was his duty to glorify nature's beauty. It was his duty to glorify nature's beauty. But alas, he proved to be vain, and all he did for his gain. But still there is trust that our environment can be strong as the crust. We must work very hard and save the environment till our last birthday card, or else we shall pave the way for disaster that at last shall give us plasters. Thank you everyone for listening my poem patiently. Once again, I repeat once again, thank you.
Great, great, Sai. I mean, keep writing and keep reciting on that. And this is different. Sometimes even lot of academic knowledge, data, speech. Day to day, we are doing these things. But sometimes your poet and these kinds of, but theme on the disaster is, I mean, very pleasant for us for air and also very refreshing. So thank you, Sai. Better keep it up, and we are all glad for you. We are very happy to you. Now, as usual, we have to go to our next speaker. And next speaker, let me allow to call Miss Arfin Haider. Miss Arfin Haider, I'm sure you are there.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. So Miss Arfin basically research.
Welcome, Arvind. Welcome,
Hello,
Arvind. How are you?
I'm good, sir. How are you? Hello, good evening, everyone.
I'm very
I am
fine.
Afrin Heather from Disaster Management background, and I have been working in Sphere India organization for collaborative advocacy. I was in World Congress on Disaster Management and Indian Red Cross. I have done MSc Disaster Management and Climate Sustainability from Jamia, and I am also SDG Ambassador in UNACC organization. First of all, I would like to thank Dr. Rajat Sharma and Disaster Management Ham Radio to kindly invite me here today for a very important session to me as a disaster professional. So in September 2014, floods in Kashmir were a wake-up call for the wide whole country on the importance of timely emergency communications for disaster management. There is no doubt that we have reached the era of unlimited real-time information sharing and mobile communications. Why may one ask, our communications for disaster management is still a topic for discussion when news travel around the globe in minutes and cellular phones provide instant personal communication links? Because unfortunately, the reality looks different. All disaster emergencies and crisis events are by nature chaotic and highly dynamic, creating physical, emotional, and social disorder. In such crisis events and emergencies, communications is critical at all phases of disaster management. Communications during emergencies incorporates a wide range of measures to manage risk to communities and the environment. Of course, drawing from various sources that include telecommunication satellites, radar, telemetry, meteorology, and remote sensing. Early warning is made possible. Before disaster strikes, telecommunications can be used as a wired lead for warning and disseminating information about the impending danger, thus making it possible for people to take the necessary precautions to mitigate the impact of these hazards. Other telecommunication applications, including remote sensing and GPS, have critical roles to play in tracking approaching hazards, alerting authorities, warning affected populations, coordinating relief operations, assessing damages, and mobilizing support for reconstruction. It is clear, therefore, that telecommunications play a pivotal role in disaster prevention, mitigation, and management. Amateur radio possesses a vast potential to serve as an alternative communication channel should the mainstream channels break down during disasters, like in Radio Kashmir was seen floating during September 2014 floods. I would like to discuss a few points on about the ham radio and its very important role in disaster mitigation, if it's allowed to me for in just 2 minutes. So, a ham radio operator can carry on experiments with various communication equipment and systems, going deeper into the science of electronics, and at the same time provide great service to the people in general worldwide by way of organizing on the air emergency medical traffic, establishing emergency communication network during natural calamities like flood, cyclone, earthquake, storm, or any other disaster. Amateur radio stations act as the second line of the communication when existing public or government communication links fail to act. Life-saving facet of amateur radio was demonstrated in India with valuable public service activities during a post and telegraph strike in 1960, when radio amateur passed important messages for the public. And similar services were rendered by hams during the cyclonic storms in Rajasthan and a number of times in Andhra Pradesh, a state prone to cyclonic storms following weather disturbances over the Bay of Bengal. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a blessed evening.
Thank you, Afin. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. In fact, I mean, it's important that you are
Yeah.
working today. Today we are discussing on disaster mitigation and different hazard and other.
Yes.
But you have chosen your career on this. This is very
Yeah.
important.
I
So
have
for
limited time in this webinar. Otherwise, I have
and
more to
for
discuss
us, it,
on ham.
for us it is a conference, but for you it's a bread and butter also. So that's a great. That's a great. It's a very important for that.
Yeah,
So
it's
yeah,
significant
thank you
rules.
very
Thank
much.
you so much.
And after Arfin, may we go to our next speaker, Professor Manoj Bajpayee. Sir, are you there? Manojji?
Yeah. I'm here.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. So,
Thank
Manoj
you.
Bajpayee, basically our Vice Chancellor, Capital University, Jharkhand, but above all is a very good mentor, guide, and we can say friend, philosopher, and guide for UNAccc. And would like to listen from Professor Manoj Bajpayee in this topic. Sir, please, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Jayantul and Dr. Rajat Sharma-ji.
Welcome. Welcome.
First of all, let me congratulate you, all of you. You people are handling very well and arranging these type of conferences online and every week, and being part of UNAccc, because this is my responsibility and duty also. So I'm happy that we all people are doing well. So first of all, congratulations for all these activities. In short, I will say, because we have listened Manish ji and then all other speakers, they spoke very well on the topic and subject. they have given some ideas also regarding the climate adaptation and hazardous mitigation. In short, I will say Manish ji had given a message, and we all must remember that our chief guest had given a message, very strong message, that don't wait for the worst situation, don't wait for the disaster, and don't wait for the Holocaust or any worse type of situation or any calamities. So be smart, be prepared, and be. I would manage in that, because chief guest had given message: be prepared and be smart. I would add in this that be proper managed, because the most important that I have seen and observed, we have been telling, we have been giving policies, we have been deciding all the guidelines, issuing the guidelines, and then advocacy, all planning, conferences, discussion, government efforts, public NGOs, all everybody is working on the guidelines and policies. But the most important point which our chief guest had told, the who will take responsibility. So you have to be prepared. So you have to be smart. Otherwise, if you are not aware, if you are not taking action, you are not following. So it is our duty. We all are responsible for this. We must take responsibility that every citizen, every people, every person will do this. Then the possible thing that then this the conferences or guidelines of the even the SDG goal will be successful. And for this, UNAccc continuously working hard. We have so many MOUs, and all over the world we have been, advocating our all ideas and then giving guidelines, signing MOUs. So definitely our efforts will be successful, and India will be giving definitely some good message to the world. Thank you, NOCC. Thank you all. Thank you, Professor Jan. Thank you, Dr. Rajat. Everybody.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Okay, thank you very much once again.
I would like to announce one thing. The whoever like to have a participation certificate, kindly leave their message and note down the number. It is +91 999 818 3228. Again, I am repeating, +91 999 818 3228. Kindly send your name, your mobile number, your email ID, and your city and state. Thank you.
Thank you. And you can, Rajatji, possible, please put this number to the chat box also so that people can note down. Yeah.
Sure,
That will be good. So thank you, Professor Bajpai, once again, with your thought, very short but sweet and crispy, and which is important. So before we go to our next speaker, may I get Dr. Priya Namrata. Are you there?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Welcome, ma'am.
Yeah. Good evening, one and
Yeah.
all. So I thank
Okay.
UNCC and Disaster Communication Training Institute for giving me this opportunity, and basically talking about disaster mitigation and climate change adaptation. I just wanted to put forward that I'm a disaster management professional, and I've been in disaster educational background since past 12 years, and I've completed my disaster management PhD in that. So it's like the entire journey was disaster, and totally it is a great opportunity to be there. And while listening to each one of you, I could just pick up few points that I would like to reflect, because I have heard all the students, they have elaborately discussed about disaster, and it's really good because now when I'm currently working as an assistant professor in Jharkhand Raksha Shakti University, Ranchi, as a Assistant Professor of Disaster Management, HOD of Industrial Security and Fire Safety Management, and I could directly relate with the disasters in both the streams. But the major thing which I felt as a lacuna or a drawback, that many of the students are unaware of disaster. But being in this platform, I could see like Sai has spoken about disaster in the poem that he has recited, and also Swatika, she has mentioned about many things about disaster, and it's really awesome to hear them. I just wanted to put two things, as Manish sir has mentioned a lot of about the IRS and ICS of disaster management, and a lot of other speaker and even the speaker from abroad, they have mentioned about many things. But I just wanted to put focus on one thing that is very essential right now, as we are coming up with a lot of new disasters, like how the snow bomb, cyclone bomb is coming up. We are not even aware of the terminologies. So to begin with, the major thing which I want to focus is about the disaster literacy, which is a very budding topic, because many people know about disaster management, and in India, like it's coming up, but disaster literacy is not there. People are not aware about disaster, what disaster exactly is. But truly speaking, disaster comes later. Beforehand, it hazard comes, and people should be aware of hazards and what to do, know how of hazards in various cases, how to deal with it. As sir has mentioned about community participation, and disaster literacy is one of the aspect where the literacy is throughout the community, including the students, the families, social networks comes in this regard. And then uh, with this, the community and the society also are aware of all the kind of disaster and what to do. And we could see the great example that happened in tsunami, when the 10-year-old in this case, and then she was about to save around 100 people. So that was really good, and it is a very good initiative, because now the education department are like providing this in a curriculum where student from higher education to the bottom grades as well, they are getting aware of disaster. This is one thing which needs to be focused in majority of the education sector. And the second thing about disaster is like the indigenous knowledge, which needs to be focused upon, because when we talk about ham radios, and we require a lot of professional people knowing about ham radios, there are certain requirements in the society where there are certain places where disaster happen, and we do not find a lot of qualified and educated people. But ham radio should also reach to the poorest of the poor, so that they will have some kind of awareness about it. And I just wanted to say that indigenous knowledge is one of the things that we need to incorporate in disaster management, because when I was working in Assam, a flood prone area in Northeast India, there I could find out, while I was working in the situation of flood, I could see there was an instant of fire, and the indigenous way of extinguishing fire was there, and that was the only thing that they use it, the banana leaves. With that, they have extinguished the fire of the entire house. So that kind of indigenous knowledge should be in a forefront, and this could be one of the place where people should talk about disaster a lot. But with the disaster, they should also talk about how to mitigate with it, and how to be adapted towards it. And this is the platform where I'm so thankful that I could hear out a lot of good knowledge through various expertise people, and also the student who are talking about it. And thank you so much for this opportunity. Hope to be connected with you all. Thank you.
Thank you so much. In fact, it's a value addition to our entire conference that you have made your thought, and that word is very important when you talk about the indigenous knowledge. Even it happened to the indigenous people. Even I work in the Assam and other. Flood is almost a every year occurrence. Is a we can say that annual event kinds of thing, whether it's starting from the Majuli and other all places are there, and the coping mechanism how we are disaster if we can't, but how they are doing. So this indigenous thought, indigenous, and this must be recorded, restored, and as much as possible to disseminate those things. Nowadays, that we have satellite images and other things, a lot of we can assess that what is happening, what may happen. But till when we come to the mitigation, as our earlier speakers also told that this that we have to help ourselves first, because when the administration, government, and other organization will come, it may happen later. But how we are prepared, how we are ready. So even we used to, as a part of even community-based disaster management, we used to take how the children will behave when there is earthquake, whether they will go down the any furniture or these that, so that they can help themselves and this. Even how to use that slippers and others, so those things. So thank you very much. This is a very important issue that with the cyber and other communication system, but indigenous knowledge, and even it happened to that Andaman Nicobar and other. They used to get the signals. They have their own indigenous method of getting signal and get separate. So when there is a tsunami, there's a hardly any incident in that. So those kinds of things are very important. So before, thank you very much once again to join. Before we go to our name, Mr. Manoj Prabhakar, are you there? Manoj Prabhakar is a college student from there. Manojji?
Sir, not
Manoj?
Manojan today is not present. Mr.
Okay,
Isan
okay.
Chandra.
Okay. So all together now let us go to our next speaker, Mr. Arijit Bhattacharya.
Arijit?
Mr. Bhattacharya, Arijit?
Sir, you call for Isan. He is online, sir. He is present.
Ishan.
Isan. Isan Chandra.
His name was not there in that list.
Okay, no, sir. I send.
Okay.
Mr. Isan Chandra is the ham license holder. He will present, sir.
Okay. Sure.
Just to call
Mr.
us.
Ishan, are you there? Ishan?
Yes, sir.
Please come. Okay. So Ishan will discuss on the ham radio thing, right?
Yeah. Yes, sir. Sir, I'll be
Please.
going to present a PPT over this Zoom meeting to all of you.
Thank you.
But try to finish within 5 to 6 minutes.
Yes, sir. Sure, sir.
Is it okay? Okay. Thank you. Can you share your PPT? Yeah, you're sharing. Yeah, it is coming.
Sir, is it
Yeah,
visible?
please. Yes. Please.
So you all might be wondering about what a ham radio has to do with the disaster communication. So, well, that's all I got to tell you about in this session. My name is Ishan Chadda, and I am a space enthusiast and an undergraduate pre-final year student at TIIT Patiala. I am currently working in Thaparsat satellite project, and I am a ham radio operator with call sign VO2MZM. So being a ham radio operator is a friendly, scientific, and a high-tech activity. It encourages self-learning experimentation and intercommunication. The radio license is being issued by the WPC, Ministry of Communication, WPC Wing of Ministry and Communication, the Government of India, and it offers a lot of privileges to the ham radio operators. So coming to the next slide, we often know that in the situation of disasters, the conventional mode of communication like mobile phone, landline, internet, etc., these are very difficult to use at the time of disaster. So ham radio serves as an alternative way to communicate via high frequency range. So the advanced amateur radio application includes the use of GIS and GPS and their interface with the internet, and then we are able to exchange the information via emails, images, and digital data. So in this slide, you all can see the picture of this satellite. This satellite is AMSAT Oscar 7 or AO7, which is an amateur radio satellite. And its objective was that it was to be used in the emergency situation to make a contact between the medical staff and the isolated areas where the disaster is being occurred. So hams can operate these kind of amateur radio satellite for worldwide communication using walkie-talkies or ground station. The two-way communication using radio transmitter, receiver, antenna can be either done through voice, Morse code, or in digital form. So let's talk about the importance of satellite communication in disaster management. Satellite communication serves us with different various features like flexibility, ease of use, reliability, and global coverage. Talking about flexibility, you just need to set up the basic communication equipments, and then you can follow on the real-time transmission of data and reception of data. It is really easy to use, and we can send our data via Morse code in analog form and also in digital form. The satellite communication is a reliable source of communication since satellites are distributed among the space, so no disaster can affect it as much as in the ground. So also satellite communication offers us with a large transmission range. So one can contact with the satellite even he or she is sitting at any part of the earth, provided the satellite is in the swath region while the transmission and reception is going on. So in this slide, you all can see two images. The first one is depicting the role of a ham at the time of flood. So one can become a hero or a messenger of God at the time of disaster while one has a radio operating license. So I also hope that that these selfless acts and efforts done by the ham radio serves as an inspiration to the future generation of our country. The image next to this is the image of the most extreme cyclone Tokte, which was seen in the Arabian Sea in 2021. It was the most extreme cyclone that hit the coastal region of Surat, Mumbai, and Rajkot and was known to be the most extreme cyclone ever since 1998. So satellite communication is being used to depict this cyclone, and the whole information is taken by the satellite only. So now I'll tell you that how satellite can detect these kind of pictures and information. The data from Earth observation and meteorological satellites, in conjunction with the ground-based information and services derived from communication and navigation satellites, are being used towards disaster management support. The data obtained from these satellites are used to track cyclones, intensity and landfall predictions, and also we can do the extreme weather forecasting few days earlier than it is to be hit on the regions. The data from the Earth observation satellites is used for monitoring disaster events and assessing the damages. So in this PPT, I have talked about the role of the radio amateur satellites and ham radio operators and their contribution in the disaster management. So that's all from my side. I would like to thank UNAccc India and Disaster Communication Training Institute of Amateur Radio Operators for giving me such a wonderful opportunity to speak up on the topic. Last but not the least, I would like to thank you all for taking out some time for listening to my session. Thank you.
Thank you, Ishan.
Wonderful.
Thank
you,
you that you have given some time to us.
Thank
And it is important that how we have met And if you go that in the behind of all these good speakers, Mr. Karthik Babu is there. So congratulations to Karthik Babu
Yes, yes,
to
sir. Yes,
preparing
sir.
their generation, next generation. If other speakers are not all have completed, now it's my turn to make a conclusion. Uh, all the from the very beginning to our Honorable Sri Krishna Prasad ji and also Mr. Manish Sharma ji, all spoken different aspect of disaster management, and everybody has made it very clear, and also it is important that before we go for the systems and other disasters, it will occur. And disaster, even when I am working on the field of disaster environment, and we can the uh, how anytime from the function or from countries or nowadays a lot of things are coming, even the COVID situation and other. And above all, when you are talking about the disaster management, these are also very much related to the almost to all the SDG goals. If you think the poverty that because of the disaster, as Priya was mentioning that, and Assam and other, every year there is a floods and other because of that, even that people below poverty line, the more poor are adding to that. So when we are talking about the different efforts regarding our uh, zero hunger or zero poverty, but because of the different types of disaster, these are also increasing. Effective when you're talking of the lot of things happen. Man-made disaster, that
Your voice is not clear. Something, I think, a net problem or something. Jayanta kindly check.
is it there now? Are you getting?
Yes, yes, yes. Now it's okay.
Um, uh, so that's why we are telling whether it's a forest fire or other different types of disaster, not only human beings, the flora and fauna of different animals, they are also affected. So directly or indirectly every day. And all this disaster management, there is a direct linkage with our SDGs goal. But at the list, when we are talking about the disaster preparedness, the again SDG goal 17 are very important. The collaboration, cooperation, and convergence. Even when we talk about this, post-disaster, we have even Government of India having numbers of different programs, different agencies are there. So climate, the disaster earlier it was related to agriculture, then later part it is the Ministry of Home has taken this initiative so that it can coordinate with different agencies. Number of agencies, civil societies, they are working on this, and number of development programs are there. So pre-disaster, during disaster, and after disaster. And I will like to advocate when we are talking of the disaster mitigation, the local government must be strengthened, must be trained enough. Local government, local people, and that our earlier speaker, the guest speaker, chief guest also discussed about that we have to be ready for that preparedness. But above all, it is not that agency, but it is the people. We have number of agencies like NDMA, SDMA, DDMA, even NDRF. All will come later part, but the first, even the Red Cross, even one of our speaker was talking of the Red Cross also. They used to do different activities and other. But above all, we have to ready. So that's why the ham radio is playing very important. Day-to-day preparation, our preparation, our awareness to different generation. Even during disaster, also that person with disabilities, they are the most vulnerable people. So how they will be prepared for their children, how they will be. But today in our discussion, we got the speaker, the children, I mean the school student, even the college student. We are very happy that even the Kartik Babu, they are working very hard on this field. This is one example, many more, and I wish that their ham radio initiative will not only confined in the southern zone, but also it will be spreaded to other states also, and people it will be more popular like FM and other. But how the ham radio can be helpful to this? With this, let me stop here. And thanks to all the speakers. And when I got this opportunity to coordinate or the hosting this, I mean I used to get learn a lot, and I'll try to link with my subject as a rural development, because India as another developing countries mostly the rural people. Though there is a urban flood issues today also came the urban flood, it is coming nature. Recently, I just visited to Malaysia, and the people are talking that urban flood is a big issue. I mean, whatever your money you have, and this is hardly matter. You have a big flat, I mean, flood, but you have to be surrender sometime. So issue of disaster management is both rural and urban, definitely. But I'm little bit biased on that, as most of our people are living in the rural people. They are mostly homeless, helpless, and this. So with these kinds of global workshop, global conference, thought, different ingredient we are getting from this, it will enrich that UNAccc mandate to fight against climate change in the global arena. With this, let me stop, and I will request to give a official vote of thanks by founder, global chairman of UNAccc, who is the man behind this all these thing, Dr. Rajat Sharma. Now it is over to you.
Thank you very much, Jayanta. It has been such an honor to be part of this wonderful conference. On behalf of the UNACC, I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to our esteemed chief guest, Mr. Manish Shankar Sharma, Senior IPS and Additional Director General of Police, Madhya Pradesh State, Shri T. Krishna Prasad, Senior IPS from Telangana, our abroad guest, Ambassador Terry Earthwind, and respected Hakon Jan, who is the Global SDG Ambassador and UNACC board member from Norway, and heartiest thanks to our disaster management expert, Mr. T.S. Kartik Babu. And
Thank you, sir.
also thanks to Priya Namta, HOD, Disaster Management at Russia Shakti University, Ranchi. And very much thanks to my dear Janta Chaudhary ji. Yes. So I am very much thankful to Jayanta ji for yourself. You are hosting this conference wonderfully always. And thank you to Arijit Bhattacharya, Manoj Vajpayee ji. Wonderful conference. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
We should
Thank you, sir.
not miss that
Thank you.
award.
Grateful to everyone. Thank you for joining.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Kartik.
Thank you.
Somebody is asking for the certificate. Please see the messages in the chat box. You can put that WhatsApp number was given. You send your detail in of WhatsApp, then definitely certificate will come to your email.
Sure. Thank you.
Name, mobile number, email ID, and their state and city. This information is required.
Kunalji,
On the mobile number
Kunalji,
plus 91 999 818 3228. And can also send a message through our website unacc.org. Thank you.
Thank you. Good night. Good night, everybody.
Can anybody tell me that whether the meeting is on or it has ended?